Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some PathOfExile discussion. Today I wanted to have a look at the Gauntlet event and the meta roundup after 5 days into the event. So this is the Islet class Gauntlet, the September 2021 version, and we're going to be having a look at what builds have been performing well, what Ascendancies have been performing well, and what else we can say about this event. This is going to be in very much the same style as the Week 6 roundup that I did for 3.15 Expedition League. Link to that in the description below. So firstly, a quick recap. Gauntlet is a player-run event that is PathOfExile minus any pretense of being forgiving or fair. It's run by streamer Zizaran, and it goes for 10 days each league, and it's become PathOfExile's most popular race event. The rule set is hardcore and solo self-found, but additionally, monsters are turbocharged. Monsters have 20% action speed, 20% damage, plus 2 projectiles fired, plus 40% monster hit points. They get 30% of physical damage added as extra of each of the 3 elements. So that means that a hit for 100 physical damage is also doing 30 fire, 30 lightning, and 30 cold. And additionally, you've got minus 20 to player resist. And to give a sense as to what sort of danger that this puts you in, it means that the zombies on the Twilight Strand can 3-shot you without any critical strikes and 2-shot you if they get a critical in there. So just beating Act 1 is an achievement, and it's one that, due to limited playtime so far, I'm yet to manage this Gauntlet. There's prizes for various boss kills, as well as a random draw with significant prizes for all players who reach level 90. Really, hitting level 90 in this is pretty much a power gamer only affair. You would need to get through the axe, and that's the key difficulty. You need to get past Depraved Trinity in Act 9 is probably the last of the really difficult bosses, but then Katava's no walkover either, and then you need to basically stay alive and farm your way up to level 90, which is a lot of white maps. A lot of players that are going just for level 90, a lot of them are staying in white maps to play it really safe. So, methodology is going to be the same as the last video. So, GGG published the ladder. It's a list of the top 15,000 characters by XP. The website PoE.ninja scrapes this data. And as you will see in this, harder game modes sharply constrain what successful builds look like, especially in Gauntlet, where beating the campaign is a huge achievement. Now, in Gauntlet, a not tiny percentage of players hide their build for strategic reasons. They think that they're in a really good chance of winning the big prizes. They don't want anyone spying on them and working out their particular build. And as a result, some character data may be misleading. Now, we're only going to be considering the top 1,045 characters to keep it to high-level characters. That's because at the time that I started writing this video, there were 1,045 characters that were character level 78 or higher. And this is going to keep, if you were to have a look at this data yourself over the next couple of days, that number will have increased, and there'll be a slight change in the variety of builds being played. So firstly, how's the Ascendancy spread looking? And we are going to see the worst Ascendancy spread we've seen in a long time, certainly compared to any of the mainstream trade league metas. So it's been a long time since a full league has been this narrow on Ascendancies. We see 46% of level 78 and up characters are playing Gladiators. The last time we've seen a trade league be this bad was 3.7 Legion League with 49% Slayers. The meta is that extremely dominated by one Ascendancy. The reason for this is that the Gladiator has access to 2 very important things. One, extremely good defensive layering that works in the Gauntlet. So a lot of other defensive layers, like those that are commonly seen on the Occultist or the Juggernaut, just pretty much don't work very well in the context of the Gauntlet. So this is just getting a tremendous amount of hit points. Because of the multiple projectiles mod, it is very easy to get hit 3 times in rapid succession by a projectile. And even a Juggernaut that might have 8,000 hit points and 7 endurance charges, they can still fall to being hit by something like that. On the flip side, a Gladiator may well block 2 of those projectiles and eat 1 of them. And whilst they'll take more damage from that one hit that gets through than the Juggernaut would have, the Gladiator's in a much better place defensively. So we're going to see that when we talk about defensive styles, but basically Gladiator and Raider are on top by a long way in this event. So that's the first thing that we see. The second thing is that the top 7 Ascendancies are all different classes. This is because of one of the things with the Islet Gauntlet event. There are specific prizes for the top person in each individual Ascendancy. So first, second, and third place have considerable cash prizes, and there's a whole point scoring system set up for that. So basically, a lot of players, their approach is to think, you know what, I'm not the very best player in the game. I'm not even one of the best 5, but I think I'm in the top 30. So I'm going to avoid Gladiator because everyone, and I'm not going to go anything remotely in the duelist area. I'm going to try and be one of the top marauders in this event. And so for that reason, those players have pretty much all focused on going the chieftain. Now, one other factor that comes into mind when you're looking at the sort of versatility that's to be seen here, solo self-found has a significant factor as well. So this is hardcore as well as solo self-found, and a solo self-found makes a number of builds that only rely upon very easily target farmed uniques quite a bit more popular than you would otherwise see. And that's one of the things that's really good with the Gladiator Spectral Shield Throw builds. The uniques that work very well for those builds are Lionized Remorse and Lionized Pinnacle, both of which can be somewhat target farmed from the divination card the Lion, and neither of which are particularly staggeringly rare either. So this also pulls more people towards choosing the Gladiator Ascendancy because its gear is so much easier to target farm than, let's say, arguably the best Hierophant build, which is Forbidden Rite Totems. That is really quite heavily dependent upon getting the unique chest Soul Mantle to work really well. And although only 10% of people have got it that are playing the Hierophants, only 10% have got Soul Mantle, a lot of people would feel, I'm not going to start a Hierophant unless, when they're running through, say, Act 8, they might get lucky and have a Soul Mantle drop. Then they might think, you know what, winner, winner, chicken dinner, I'm going to re-roll a Hiero at this point. So defensive style viability. I discussed this at length in the video that I put together on the main 3.15 Expedition League. So I'm not going to go through everything except to say that I'm trying to break up characters according to their defensive style between Dodge, Chaos Inoculation, Glancing Blows, Max Block, Mind Over Matter, Molten Shell Life, Glass Cannon, and Extreme Glass Cannon. With most builds fitting exactly one of these, some will fit more than one, and some might not quite fit any of them. But basically, what we're going to see here is the defensive style popularity. 28% of characters are using some sort of dodge version, and I've just basically taken that as you've allocated acrobatics on the passive tree. This is almost all raiders, almost all saboteurs. Because this interferes with your ability to block, that's having the acrobatics keystone undermines your ability to block. That means that you don't really see this ever used alongside block. Chaos Inoculation is next, and there is literally one player who has allocated Chaos Inoculation on a high-level character. Chaos Inoculation is not in a great place at league start in general. It starts to become a bit better when you've got access to just better gear as you would get later in an event, and the Gauntlet is not really conducive to builds like that. Additionally, Chaos Inoculation builds don't offer that percentage mitigation that can protect you from taking 3 rapid shots from projectiles, in the way that either a dodge-based acrobatics, phase acrobatics setup can, or in the way that a max block setup can. So for that reason, it's a very unpopular setup, but there is one brave person doing it and doing pretty well with it. Next up, we have Glancing Blows, which is not very popular here. Again, I think because people don't like getting hit by 3 projectiles. Even if you block 2 of them with Glancing Blows, you're still taking a lot of damage there. Max Block is next at 40%. This is depending on how you measure it. So 15% of players are taking Versatile Combatant, which is what I would say is truly dedicated to Max Block. 40% are going with Painforged. I think that the split we're seeing here is that a lot of people are going with, well, firstly, a lot of people haven't done their Eternal Labyrinth because the Eternal Labyrinth is hard in the Gauntlet event. So a lot of players don't have their Eternal Labyrinth, but might be planning Versatile Combatant there. And a lot of players are thinking, you know what, I'm going to take the Bleed Explosions and I'm going to rely upon them alongside Painforged to provide me a moderate level of defense while I grind to level 90. I think you would find that the people who are seriously pushing on their Spectral Shield Throw characters to try and take it to extreme endgame content and actually win the Gauntlet, those players would be taking Versatile Combatant as well. Next up, we have Mind Over Matter, only seen on 7% of characters, which is a lot less than in the Trade League. Molten Shell Life is everywhere. 53% of players are using some form of Molten Shell setup on their character, just because it's an amazing defense, and a lot of them are linked to cast when damage taken. Some people play the way I do and prefer to just self-cast it, but ultimately that's being used. 5% of people, about 50 players, are using what I would term a glass cannon setup for the Gauntlet. Now, this means that they've got under 4,700 life and they don't have a massive energy shield pool. And this is characters that are level 78 plus is all we're considering. Of course, there are no extreme glass cannons, which are defined as characters with less than 500 total effective hit points, because those are not hardcore viable at all. Not even in the normal league, but certainly not in Gauntlet. So top performing skills, we have Spectral Shield Throw on a Gladiator, the physical trapper archetype. So this is Seismic Trap for heavy bossing, Exsanguinate traps for clearing and for light bossing as a Saboteur. We have Chaos Dot Bows. So this is either Toxic Rain or Caustic Arrow, usually as a raider, sometimes using Ballistae actually, quite commonly using Ballistae. We have Detonate Dead as a Necromancer build. We have Forbidden Rite Totems as a Hierophant build. We have Physical Spellslinger, so this is Corrupting Fever with Reap and or Exsanguinate as payloads attached to Spellslinger. This is usually played as an Ascendant. And then we have Ancestral Warchief Totems Chieftain. You'll notice that these 7 builds are one for each class, one for each base class, and that's definitely because of the specific dynamics of the Gauntlet. So for instance, the Physical Spellslinger might actually not be the 6th best build. The reason that it's showing up here is because people are choosing to play it because there is a prize for the highest placed Scion, and they feel that this is the best choice for going for that. Skill popularity. So firstly, one thing is a bit misleading here. PoE.Ninja does not record people whose main skill remains a 4-link, and that tends to happen a little bit more in Gauntlet than it would in the normal game. Mostly because a lot of the Rippy League content tends to drop 5 links a fair bit. So for instance, if you were chasing a 5-link, one of the places you would do it in softcore is by going and running Grand Heists. But Grand Heists are pretty terrifying in the Gauntlet environment, and so a bunch of players who might do that in in normal solo self-found, even in hardcore solo self-found, in the context of a Gauntlet might be saying, you know what, no, I'm not going to try and get a 5-link out of a Grand Heist. So the skill diversity is terrible, unlike Trade Expedition. You'll see here that you've got Spectral Shield Throw taking up this huge chunk of the pie chart. We have this other section, which is actually not too bad. But then we have the Chaos Dot Arrow builds here, Physical Trappers here, Detonate Dead, Forbidden Rite Totem, Physical Slinger, and Warchief Totem. This is a terrible example of skill diversity. And that really just comes down to how this isn't an event that's designed to be fair. It's not an event that's designed to be beatable by every type of character. It's something where, because of the brutal mods, only the top builds survive in the Gauntlet. And as a result, you see, like, if you were to look down at all the characters that had died between level 10 and level 60, you might find a much larger diversity of builds. But those builds are dying there for a reason, and that's because the stronger builds are making it through the meat grinder of the campaign. Anyways, that's all I got on this. It's definitely been a bunch of fun. The small amount that I've been able to play the Gauntlet was a lot of fun. I'm hoping you get to get more of a chance to play it, although I'm certainly not going for any of the prizes in it. There's a lot of stuff that's really fun to watch on it as well. Definitely have a look, say, at Zizaran's channel over on Twitch. It has a lot of highlight reels. And as well as that, you can find links to a lot of the boss kills that are being done over on the PathOfExile community racing Discord. Anyways, if you've got comments or questions, fire away below. Otherwise, may your Valorbs have interesting results.